So this is the board challenge I presented you this week. And we could spend probably hours talking about this because there are so many things going on, so many patterns, so many anti-patterns, anti-patterns, guys. That's a way to do things in the wrong way. Um, if you tell me whether this is gonna, I'll do something. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I haven't even tried that. I hope you have tried that, but I haven't tried it. So I don't know if that's gonna work or not. Oh well, let's be completely honest. I know this is not gonna work because I did some errors on purpose. But even after solving these errors, I won't be in a position to let you know whether this is gonna work or not. So first of all, yeah. Aha! Thank you, Lena. No, I'm not sharing the screen. Cool. Awesome. 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 All right. Someone was paying attention. Thank you very much, Elena. Uh, uh, all right. So let me share the screen again. Cool. I'm getting old, guys. This thing happens. You'll notice sooner or later, right? So, all right. Can you please confirm you can see what my VS Code, for instance? Cool. Fantastic. So you see, the only thing I've done is I got an empty app with the component that I sent you on Tuesday, right? And I'm trying to display the component. So, as I said before, I know this is not gonna work because I introduced some errors, yeah, some challenges for you. But even if we find and fix these problems, I'm not gonna be in a good position to tell you whether this is gonna work or not. So today, I would like to explain if it works, why, and if it doesn't work, why? Because that's not up to us. There is an actor, there is an external actor that can change the behavior of our algorithm. So, first of all, uh, can anyone tell me, regardless of what the problems are, what this algorithm, what this cat facts function is trying to do? Mhm, mhm. That's correct. So that URL, this is what we call, guys, an endpoint. So if I go back to my web browser and I paste that, hopefully you've done that already, you will see, well, that's quite unreadable, right? But you'll see a lot of data coming from that URL. I have nothing to do. I'm not affiliated to that URL, so that's something someone has created. Yeah, um, yeah. No, I didn't. I didn't mention the word fetch yet, I believe. So I'm just talking about that someone has created. I'll talk about fetch in a minute, Maxim. I don't care about fetch yet, and you shouldn't care about fetch neither. For now, I'm trying to explain that we have an algorithm, we have a function that is trying to, well, fetch. I mean, fetch not from a technical point of view. It's trying to retrieve. It's trying to obtain, yeah, to get data from external source. So if I paste that URL, this is what we call an endpoint, guys, an HTTP endpoint, technically speaking. You can see, probably can zoom it in a bit. You can see that this is returning an object. You see the data return is an object, and then that object has lots of has an array with lots of properties, lots of, you see, 233 or 234 objects. And for each object, we got some quotes, some facts, yeah, like cats make about 100 different sounds, blah blah blah, yeah. So you see, we can get some nice facts about cats. So the idea of this exercise was trying to trying to connect with that external API, and that's why we got something called fetch. Ignoring the implementation details, we are going to run a workshop about promises. So once we talk about promises, you'll have a better understanding about what this .then structure means. So I'm not gonna highlight lines 16 to 19, but at least line number 15 is important. So fetch, back to Maxim's question. So fetch is de facto standard way of integrating with external APIs. I got my app running locally, my local host, but I can fetch, I can get data from external source. So what external source? Whatever you want. So for instance here, you see, I'm trying to get data from cats, yeah, from that cats URL. So once we got the data, what are we, guys? Can anyone tell me what are we trying to do with it with that data? That's correct. So look, facts.all. Why facts.all? Facts.all because if you pay attention, that's what the author of this API did, right? He wrote the word all, so it returns an object, and then all is an array with hundreds of cat facts. Yeah? So facts.all map, that means for each fact, then display the text associated to it, yeah, whatever the text is. That's the idea. That's the idea. First of all, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Can anyone see which is the most immediate problem we are gonna face? No, 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 no. That's wrong. Well, that's not wrong as such, but that's not the first problem we're gonna find. Ah, so Vicky is proving that she tried to play. Of course, you see, guys, I can clearly see who tried to play with that exercise. Of course, that's the first problem. So, what's the value of the facts variable at the beginning? The first, once we refresh the page, for instance, what's the value of facts? Null, correct? That's null. Yeah, because that's what we have done to initialize it. So, what happens when we do facts dot all, or in other words, null dot all? Error, error. That's an error, guys. That's an error. Yeah, that's an error. We cannot do null dot all. Likewise, we're gonna do undefined dot all. That's not gonna work. Yeah, that's the first thing. Even guys, even if we ignore the fetch thingy, that's fine. Yes, with these 2 lines of code, if the employer shows you that, what's that gonna return? That's gonna return an error for sure. Yeah, because you cannot do null dot something. That's not gonna work. All right, but you may argue, yeah, but in reality, we are trying to get an array of data and we are trying to save it. There is something fundamental here. Guys, that code, when you write .then, we'll run a workshop about that, so don't worry that much. But just to give you some high-level idea about what's going on. When you call a fetch, when you call a backend, when you call an external API, that happens asynchronously. That word should be vital in your future development, guys, asynchronously. What that means? That, yeah, I mean, we're calling the backend, but that request may take 2 minutes to complete. Does that mean that your browser is going to freeze and everything is going to stop until you get a list of cat facts? No, of course not. So React will render, React will do whatever, and eventually, once you got the facts from the endpoint, then we may try to redisplay or may not. We'll see. Yeah? But first things first. First things first. Regardless of what that fetch is doing, the very first time we try to display the list of cat facts, that's not gonna work. If I show you the browser, if I refresh, I'm sure that's gonna fail at some point. What is my code? Hello? Ah, here you go. It took a while, right? But error, look, that's exactly the problem I told you. Cannot read properly. Oh, come on. Cannot read properly all of null. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing. So what I would like to do is to initialize, first of all, I would like to initialize facts. Instead of initialize it to nil, I'm gonna do something like that. Yeah, by default, what I got nothing. Yeah, I got all, that's what the API is doing, and then how many facts I got? None. Yes, that's an empty array. Yeah? Eventually, hopefully, that array will be filled on line number 18. But for now, I got nothing. So, what do you think, guys? Is that gonna throw any error? We need to use what? Sorry, Elena? State. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. To simplify things a bit, before talking about the state, you said something very interesting. Let's ignore fetch. Imagine that your component is just, what you can see on the screen. Is that going to throw any error? Maxim, I think you were trying to say something, I didn't catch that. Undefined. So you think that the user is going to receive the text undefined, in lowercase? Why? Okay, fair enough. And then what? Yeah, that's correct, Vicky. It's going to be an empty screen. Yeah, if we remove the title and it's not undefined. So React is smart enough to understand that if the array is empty, then there is nothing to display to the user. You see, there is nothing empty. There is nothing on it. What happens if I add something here? So for instance, if I add cats are cool, what do you think is going to happen? That's a really good point, Elena. That's not going to work neither, because according to this data structure, each fact should be, what type of data should it be? An object. That's correct. That's correct. So if I run that, there is nothing displayed because that's not valid. So as you said, if I want to display some facts, I will need to do something like that. Text, cats are cool, and then of course you can pass multiple facts, right? Text, cats are nice. I'm not the most creative person for these things, right? Yeah, of course. I mean, eventually, I don't want to hard code all the list of facts. I want to bring them from the external API. But we'll do that in a minute. I'm just trying to see if the shape of the exercise it's correct or not. So if I refresh, look, that's cool, right? We got a couple of facts about cats. Fair enough. Do you think, guys, if I open DevTools, are we gonna get any error or any warnings? That's correct, Vicky. That's correct. We are missing the key from map. Give me a second because I'm updating your scores for the week. So you're right, Vicky. We're missing the key. So it works. Sorry, guys. It works. Where is it? It works. But if I open DevTools, remember, guys, always keep DevTools open when you go to a job interview. Then you'll find out. Let me show you. You see, guys, can you see the error? Each child, blah blah blah, should have a unique key prop. Yeah. So remember to bring a key. So can you give me, guys, a nice key? Yeah, I agree on that. That's the only thing we got, right? So fact.text. Can we destructure that, guys? I don't want to write the word fact all the time. Something like that. What's line 12? What calibrates what? Text? Facts? All right, wait. Hold on, guys. Sorry, Elena. Wait. Sorry, wait. Give me a second, guys. How many props the cat facts component receives? Where is that? Why you know that, Maxim? What is that information? Look at line number 7. How many props are we passing to cat facts? None. That doesn't make any sense. Actually, this is gonna that's not gonna work, right? Facts is gonna be undefined. So yeah, that's not the way you can destructure that. So where guys, should you destructure the fact or facts argument? That's correct. You see, that's the way you destructure it. Because here you got a fact, and instead of getting fact and then fact.text twice, you can destructure the fact object because that's an object, and then that's easy, right? That's all you need to do. So if I go to the web browser, you'll see that in this occasion we don't have any errors. Questions? All right, so if you don't have any questions, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna remove my fake data, and I would like now to start integrating with the backend. So the first question is, that may work or may not work. So I can promise you something. This is not gonna display anything. So there are few problems here. So can anyone tell me one reason? And there are at least two reasons. But can anyone tell me one out of these two reasons why this is never ever gonna work? That's very interesting, Elena. Indeed, state is wrong. Yeah. So once we get the data from the backend, we want to display it. Otherwise, why the hell do we want to get the data from the backend if we are not gonna display it at all? Yeah. So that's the first problem. So this is not gonna redisplay anything. So even if everything else is correct, just because of that problem reported by Elena, nothing is gonna work. Do you see, can anyone tell me any other problems apart from the state? But that should be fine because you do facts.all, that's an empty array, you are right, but then nothing will be mapped, nothing will be executed. So that's going to display, first of all, an empty array. And once we solve the state problem, in theory, that should, update the state and that should redisplay. But there is something else wrong. No, do we need the render method here, guys? Yeah, that's Vicky. That's a stateless component. That's a function. Render only applies to classes. Yeah, so don't mix things. Don't mix things, please. No, there is a problem somewhere else. I'll give you a hint. Line number 15. What's wrong? Elena, please. That's correct, guys. If you create a variable and you plan to update it, then don't call it constant. Yeah? Because const means this is not gonna change, right? That's why. Why? Because that's a constant. Yeah. If I do. No, you cannot change the reference, Maxime. So if I do const Maxime equals 10, can I do then Maxime equals 11? No, but wait, Maxime. But look at what I'm doing here. I'm initializing a variable, facts equal something, and then line number 21, I'm doing facts equal something else. Yeah, so that's not legal. Regardless of any other problems, visually speaking, even if you don't understand how fetch works, even if you never work with React, yeah, it doesn't matter. Line number 16 is incompatible with line number 20. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. If you are planning to update your list of facts, what should I put here? Let. Correct, guys. Correct. Let works a bit better. Yeah. And then with let, then we can hopefully change the object with all the facts. So that was the second problem. But now let me tell you something. Const versus let. Let me tell you something else. Regardless of the state, regardless of const versus let, actually no, let's do the state first. So let's try to solve the problem, all we can do, and then I'll present you another problem. So can anyone tell me how can I deal with the state? Because that's not gonna work for sure. I mean, regardless of what we do, if I show you the browser, as you can see here, so that's not gonna work. That's not gonna display anything. That's not gonna display anything. Give me a second. Where I am. Here you go. That's not gonna display anything because this is line number 19 is not gonna redisplay. So can anyone refresh me? How can we redisplay things in React? With hooks. That's correct, Vicky. How can you tell me? How can I write some hooks here? Use state. Do we need, guys, is that correct? Line number 1? That's correct. Remember, we need curly brace because use state is non-default. State is exported as default, but use state is non-default. And then what else? No, I don't want to use use effect. We never talked about use effect yet. Okay, sounds good to me. And I don't know. Empty string. All right. So what's that gonna display, guys? Empty object. All right. So what's that gonna display? Nothings. All right. So give me a second. So Vicky sets empty screen, right? Who else? So Elena, error. Why error, Elena? That's correct, Elena. Guys, facts, according to what Vicky said, it's an empty object. So what facts.all is going to return? Undefined, that's correct. No, that's undefined, guys. If you got an object, no, wait, guys. If I got a user, which is an empty object, what user.name is going to display? That's correct, undefined, because we don't have that property. And what user.name.first is going to return? Are you sure? That's correct, Lauren. That's going to be an error. Yeah, look at the difference, guys. If you got the object and you are trying to get a property out of the object, you may find it, you may not find it, right? So if I got age98, of course I can do user.age and I will display 98, no problem at all. If I got user.name, do I have a user? Yes, I got an object. Do I have the name property? No, undefined. But what happened in the last case? Do I have a user? Yes. Do I have user.name? No. So user.name is undefined. What happened when you try to do undefined dot something or null dot something? That's correct. Error. And that's the reason why facts, it is an object. It's good. However, facts.all, that's undefined. Undefined.something is going to throw an error. Let's prove that, guys. Let's prove that. So if I go back to my web browser, and I refresh, look, and handle, well, it's still complaining about the constant, yeah? So we haven't changed that yet. That's actually true. Let me comment it out for now, yeah? Because I want to actually highlight the problem we are talking about. So if I try again, it's gonna, you see, look, cannot read properly map of undefined. That's exactly what we were talking about. So that's not a valid default state for the facts variable. So can anyone apart from Vicky and Elena tell me what should I write here? Empty array. That's interesting. All right, so Lauren suggests that the default list of facts is going to be an empty array. So was my browser, was my Google Chrome going to display in this occasion? What the same means? Map of undefined. That's interesting. You are quite right, Vicky. Look at the problem, Lauren. You still get the same problem, and the reason is now facts is an array. Array dot something that's probably going to return undefined. So undefined dot map, that's that's not going to work. That will vomit an error. So then I want another opinion. What should be the default value? Anyone apart from Lauren, Vicky, and Elena? So, Maxim, can you say it again, please? Yeah? What should be the default value of the facts variable? Like that? All right, we've done that already, and that's not gonna work, Maxim. So, Max? Empty? All right, so what's gonna display? What's the browser gonna display now? Yeah, that's correct. That's gonna be an error. So now, fact like that. What's the all right, guys, can anyone, including the ladies, tell me what should they put here? All colon empty array, like that. All right, VS Code is complaining already, right? So that means there is not. That looks much better to me, Lauren. That looks much better to me. So what are we doing now? So what we're doing is facts, that's the object. Facts.all, do we have an all property? Yes, we got it. So now we're pointing to an empty array. And then empty array.map, that's not gonna loop, that's not gonna display anything, but at least empty array.map is valid. It's a valid structure. You got an empty array, you want to iterate, there is nothing to iterate, but that's not gonna blow up, that's not gonna throw any error. So if I go back to the browser, you got an empty string, an empty page, which is better than getting error, right? So at least now, the code is correct. We just need to fill the list of facts. And now my question. Say it again, Maxim. Console log. Nothing. There are no errors. There is nothing to display. What do you want? What do you want the console to display, Maxim? There is nothing to display. No errors. Nothing. No. It will look. If I bring that line back, that's gonna throw an error because we declare a variable as a constant, and then we are rewriting the variable. So if I run that, then yes, then you're right. Then you get some red text. Yeah? But without that line, we got nothing. So now the question is, can anyone tell me, anyone apart from Lauren, how can I then how can I update the list of facts once the backend, again, I don't care if you don't really understand that bit, I want you to tell me how can I update the list of facts. And then what? That's not gonna work. Elena? That's interesting. That's interesting. Again, even if you don't really understand that bit, the way it works is you call a backend, you call an external API, could be based in Russia or in Madagascar, I don't care, and eventually it will give you some data. So that's the way you update the state. Yeah, we've done that already, guys. We've learned how to update the state. Remember the click counter button, where we have a button and we click and then we got a counter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pretty much the same thing in a slightly different way. Yeah. So now, to me, unless there is something wrong somewhere, that could be the case. Personally, I mean, we could have something wrong. Visually speaking, I will say first of all, the code is correct. However, I cannot warranty if in this occasion we are going to get an error or we are going to get the unexpected result with a list of cat facts. Why? It's a matter of security. I've seen in many occasions developers, students building the team apps, they try to do these things. And the thing is, from the web point of view, let's try to display a diagram. So you got the front end, and then you got your backend, your front end localhost, and then you got your backend, localhost. So can you ask the list of shows from your front end to your backend? Yes. Yes. So the backend will return whatever, yeah, the information with the source. And then the front end, that information will be facilitated to the front end, and the front end will display them using, I don't know, map, whatever. Yeah, you know that, or you are working on that at the moment. Yeah, that's the way it works. You connect to yourself. But now the question is, can I from my front end, can I send a request? So that's essentially what you do here is localhost 3000 blah blah blah, and then the backend that is in localhost. That's okay. But can I do instead of localhost 3000? Can I try to get the list of shows from Codeflix Maxim? Can I try to from my front end? Yeah, this is the front end. Front end localhost. Can I get the list of shows created by the backend on Codeflix Maxim? The answer is, generally speaking, that's illegal. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. That's what we call a cross-domain problem. For security reasons, I cannot consume an API from my frontend to the backend written by someone else. The domain has to be the same. So if my frontend is in localhost, my backend should be in localhost. If the frontend is Codeflix Maxim, the backend should be Codeflix Maxim. If the frontend is Google, the backend should be Google. Yeah? Yeah. So that's correct. That's the general rule. So let's see how does it work when that happens. So if that happened, what happens if I want to get not my TV shows, I want to get Maxim's TV shows. So the way it works, this is just a picture about how the API looks like. Yeah. So the way it works is my frontend will call localhost 3000. So my frontend will send a request So that's localhost 3000, that's localhost 3000, that's localhost 3000. My frontend will send a request to my backend in also localhost 3000. And then my backend will send a request to Maxim's backend, whatever the URL is. Yeah? So then Maxim backend will return the list of TV shows. Yeah? So that's the classic setup of an API. Your frontend calls your backend, and your backend talks to another backend. So the communication is backend to backend. And why is that? Again, for security. Backend environments, Node.js is a much safer place to run these operations. Remember, the front end is nice, colors, images, videos, whatever. But if you install a malicious script, they can steal all your data. That's why you cannot, generally speaking, trigger external APIs from your front end. Yeah? I'm not asking you to understand how exactly my backend can talk to Maxim's backend. I'm not asking you to do that right now. But you know that in the front end, you had fetch, right? You do. That's what we've been doing today. So with the backend, there is something similar. It's not called fetch, but you can do fetch-ish, if that makes any sense. Fetch-ish, yeah. And then eventually, so my front end will ask my backend will ask Maxim's backend will return the data to my backend, and my backend will return the data to my front end. Okay? So that's the way it works. There is a longer journey. So that's the general rule. However, it is true that in some occasions, we may want to open our API. Yeah. So Maxim may be interested on opening his API to the audience because that could be relevant for the JavaScript community or whatever reason. So there is a way to say, hey, I want to make my API public. And if that's the case, I don't really have to go to my backend. I could directly, if I wanted, consume Maxim's backend from my frontend. So I could shortcut that process. But once again, that depends on whoever facilitates the data, the host of the data. In this case, who is the host of the data? It is Maxim. So he will have to enable that feature. In this case, who is the host of the data? Guys? That's correct. Whoever wrote that API decided whether that API should be private and only available within his frontend, or whether it should become public so then anyone can easily consume it from any frontend. The thing is, I don't know. I don't know just looking at my code. I will need to try it, and then if it works, then we'll see that the API is public. And if it doesn't work, obviously we'll see what the error is and blah, blah, blah. But that will probably imply that the API is private. So let's see what happened. If I refresh the page, let's see if we get, oh, look. You see? Let me zoom the screen. So what that means, guys, is the API public or private? It is public, that's correct, which is, well, nice. I think it simplifies things, yeah? Because I don't need to call my backend to request the data from this endpoint. And that's good, right? You see, it's working. So I'm fetching data from my frontend, yeah, thanks to that API. No, you can call it big if you want. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so that's the data that endpoint, that API is returning. So if you call it big, eventually it should work. Yeah, that's correct. That's the logical structure of the algorithm. We'll run a workshop, guys, to explain. This is, if you're curious, this is called promises, promise chains. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. Yeah? But that's great, guys, because you've seen that it works, right? I mean, if I refresh the page, hopefully, eventually, hello. I mean, it has worked before, right? I mean, my laptop is so slow. Let me try to open it in a new tab to see if it managed to return any data. It's not working now. That's a bit weird, right? The only thing I'm doing is to change the variable to pick it. I cannot believe that broke my algorithm. All right, give me a second. I know there is that's a bit unfortunate because there is another problem, but I didn't want to talk about the other problem. And it looks like because of the other problem, nothing is working now. No, this is a bit hard to believe. All right, so here you go. Okay, here's the data again. Fantastic. I'm not going to touch anything, right? So it works, guys. It works. A bit slow. My laptop, it had better days, but it's working. But now, look, I'm not touching anything. Can anyone see anything strange on my screen? Look, guys, you see? Keeps going. How many times my front end is trying to get data from the external API? Hundreds. Now, I'm sure the guy is getting an email saying, hey, there is a stupid person trying to get your data about cats thousands of times, yeah? So look, so first of all, it works, right? I mean, if I don't open DevTools, my feeling would be, yeah, that goes fine, next task. However, if you pay attention to DevTools, and that's another reason why DevTools, it is so important, you can see that we ruin it. Guys, let me be honest with you. If you present that algorithm in a job interview, you are out immediately because you are doing something fundamentally wrong. Because of a reason, you are getting hundreds of requests, yeah, which is obviously wrong. Why are we getting hundreds of requests? Unfortunately for you, I'm not going to tell you the reason because I want you to do a bit of research. There is a problem with hooks. Is Max or Maxim? You're talking about hooks, right? It's Max. All right, so Max, I would like you to explain in your workshop why we didn't get the job here. Why we got 400 times the request is, going over and over and over again. We're doing something wrong with hooks, yeah, and I'm not going to tell you why. If you want a hint, I will tell you that obviously this function is running again, and that is because we call the API by the first time, fine. We set the list of facts, fine. What happened, guys, in React when you update the state? That's correct, Elena. We re-render again. Because we re-render again, we call the backend again, we get the data,